Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to House of Footy. It's your boy Ray, and with me, I got a full house tonight. Welcome, Mac
Good evening.
and Gio.
What is good, guys?
On today's podcast, we are in charge of transfers. As the transfer window is now open, we look to see what we think other teams around the Premier League can do to make their team that much better and to take it potentially to the next level. Before we get into it, don't forget to follow us on our social media, both on X and Instagram. Our handle is at house_of_footy. Also, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to us. We are on both Spotify and YouTube. And lastly, feel free to get in touch with us via email. We love hearing from you guys, and we want you guys getting involved. Our email is houseoffooty@hotmail.com. So we're going to start off, but we did put a restriction for each of us. Of course, as you guys know by now, since, of course, you guys have been listening to us for quite a while, we do have allegiances to some clubs. And we made it so we don't choose our own club to put a fantasy transfer in for. So what's going to happen is Gio is going to pick a Liverpool player. Mac is going to choose a Manchester United player, and I'm going to choose an Arsenal player. But we'll just kick it off, and you guys will pick it up. Mac, I'm going to toss it to you first. Who is your pick? I think it was for Manchester United. I think we went with the strikers. Because I think they're lacking in that role or looking for reinforcements.
Very interesting. So I don't know if you saw the most recent news, and we're going to start off with kind of depression corner for Gio here. Originally, I was going to go for a striker, but if you did not hear the most recent news, that Anthony Martial has agreed to stay on at Manchester United until June. There's talk about him leaving in January, which is why they would need to fulfill the need for a striker. If he's agreed to stay on until June, then the need is no longer there, because if you have Anthony Martial as a backup striker, do you need any other options, Yo? I don't think so. I think we can all agree and be on the same page there. It's very interesting, even in his contract. I'll do some research that Manchester United has an option to extend it for a further year. So if they do want to potentially sell him for at least something, but again, who knows what may happen. So I think that business itself, in all likelihood, if we check right now, in all likelihood, the striker position is not going to be filled during the January transfer window. It would be during the summer window, in June, July, after the season finishes. So I actually cheated a little bit. I apologize. I changed the position. And if you're looking at what do Manchester United need other than a backup striker, of course, they really need everything. So I really felt like an open canvas to work with. So I identified necessarily, I think, is one of the best young players in the world, which fills a couple buckets. Manchester United to get younger, needs to have up-and-coming talent, need to necessarily do something I would argue on a little bit cheap, and have pedigree. So I picked out a player coming from Ligue 1. Right now he plays for Nice, Jean-Claire Todibo. Right now he plays center half alongside Dante, who's 40 years old, if you remember Dante, the Brazilian. And at one point, this was a big stat going through his play, before I talk about as an individual, is that through the first 13 games of the Ligue 1 season, Nice were in first and had only conceded 4 goals. They play a very high press, high attacking position, and where Dante, a lot of the time, he ends up joining in the attack, which puts Todibo in a position where he's defending one-on-one strikers that you would think, generally speaking, should outpace him, maybe on movement, maybe if it's beat him one-on-one, but he's done very, very well thus far. I think he's 23, if I remember correctly, 24, so he's still very young in his career, and goes against what Manchester United have recently signed. I was looking on transfer market. They value him roughly around 35 million euros. Of course, once Manchester United come in, you probably see that go closer to 45, 50. But we're talking about good pedigree, where you've seen a lot of bigger teams around the world look to be able to go to the for young center backs. And the direct comparison that a lot of people have made to him is William Saliba. I think it's a little bit unfair, but a lot of people are talking about the William Saliba, Badiashile, Agard, Sven Botman, players like that coming from Ligue 1, having immediate impact onto wherever they kind of arrive in positive, mostly I would argue positive ways. So I think that would be an interesting signing, as well as you can play him alongside Lisandro Martinez as kind of your future center halves. And what I've really argued for Manchester United, if again, looks like Varane's gone, you're still playing Johnny Evans, that's a huge hole that needs to be filled. So a player like that, I think, would fit nicely in and help this rebirth, that kind of this recycling, the rebuilding that Manchester United need, and he could be a foundational player potentially.
Fantastic pick. I'm not sure if you mentioned it, Mac. Nice conceded 9 goals so far this season.
Yep.
Fewest by far in the division. So, Gio, any thoughts on that potential signing?
Yeah, I mean, if if we were able to snag him early, then absolutely at a low cost, because if Nice continue to do well, they're only gonna want him to sell him for, only gonna want to sell him for more, and you kind of build that fortress from the back anyway. So if they want to be the counter-attacking team they want to be, or envisioned, they're gonna have to defend well first. So adding a defender, a center half would be lovely. And to get him in the squad early, um, but maybe not too early, just because it always depends on who the manager is going to be. Because if he's going to be in Ten Hag system, maybe he learns Ten Hag system and then doesn't do too well under a new manager. So
Mm.
maybe yes, I would definitely take him. But maybe the timing would be a little off.
Another reason why I think it's very interesting, if you watch how Nice play a lot of the time this year, they're very possession based. They do kind of what we thought Ten Hag initially coming in as a system, building up from the back, kind of not focusing on long balls as much. That's a system he's kind of been ingrained in, raised in, has played in, at least through his time as Nice, and has done very, very well. So if we revert back to what we expected Ten Hag to do, he can fit naturally in that system. And right now, you could argue the reason why they're not playing that is because they don't have the center halves to do so. Martinez is injured, and if you're playing a center half of Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire at full fitness, if everyone's healthy, you really don't have any other option, I would argue. So I think that this may be an interesting piece of the puzzle to see, okay, does Ten Hag have the goods? Is he able to do something with a player like this? If not, then we need to cut bait off of him, because this is a quality young player that is performing very, very well. Again, I want to reiterate, he's playing beside a center half that's 40 years old. And he's not playing in the back three like loads of time like Thiago Silva, where he gets two mans covering him. No, it's one man by himself back there a lot of the time on counterattack. So he has the physical capabilities, he has the technical ability. So be very interested to see. Feel like, again, when I saw this, I thought that was a very nice pick. But again, for Manchester United, it's quite easy because I could pick any position and be like, yeah, we need one of those.
Well, in that case, Gio, give us your first pick for Liverpool.
Well, look, I think you are quite familiar with him. He was supposed to leave, supposed to join another German giant this summer. And I think they need help here, because it'll allow Salvas to kind of move up the pitch a little more, kind of be that delegator that they kind of want him to be. And my signing is an easy transition in the Premier League. It'll be Joao Palhinha. I think him being that force in the right in front of the defensive line, I think would be a lot of help. I think he is versatile enough that, say, they work out a system where Trent does push up in the middle a little more on the counter. Well, if they get countered, that's where Joao Palhinha can kind of drop back a little more, and I believe he does have that capability to play that position as well. Not play that position, but defend that position. So I think versatility wise, he could fit very well into that system. And the lone fact that he was about to leave anyways, his mind is set on leaving. I think he's still set on leaving. It's a matter of when. But if the opportunity is to go out and win trophies and win, potentially 4 trophies, I think that will definitely, pique the interest of any, competitive footballer or competitive athlete, no matter what sport they're in. I think the transition, from Premier League, he already plays in the Premier League, so we can kind of throw that transitional period out the window. He's used to the physicality, he's used to the pace of the game, he's used to, all the players that he's already played against and played with. So that would be, I think, arguably one of the smarter moves, and obviously keep him in the plans long term as well.
Fantastic. Oh man, you guys opened it up with great picks there. I have really nothing else to add. Mac?
I want to add quickly to that. There's a couple of huge wins there. One, he's 28. He's in the prime of his career. This is a signing, potentially, if you would ask me at Liverpool who their number one target should be, he's definitely high on the list. And it would be a win-down signing where they're going to go chase the title. They're chasing these competitions. They're not looking for necessarily something over the next 5 years to be able to be successful. This is a win-down signing, which would be, I would argue, a little bit unusual for Liverpool. But I feel like it's not to the same degree, but it's not too dissimilar to the January transfer where they signed Alisson and Van Dijk and then vault them into a different conversation. I think that this is not dissimilar to that, where you're talking about a player that can come in and have a large impact on an area of need. Secondarily, it'd be a huge win for Ray. Do you know want to know why? He would help their yellow cards. He bets Liverpool games
Ooh,
anyway. He could bet overs every game for every
amazing.
Liverpool. Win, 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 win. Mega rain. Sorry.
Written in the stars, boys.
Mhm.
Hopefully, I don't know. Who knows what the future holds? If it does happen, I will be a very happy man for multiple reasons. Moving on to my quick pick for Arsenal. Now, you guys went with very, very good picks, very sound picks as well. I'm gonna. We were discussing this a little bit, Gio, before the podcast started. I'm feeling this year's January transfer window is a little bit dry. Spurs have done quite well to get some early business done, but doesn't seem like there's a team that's really out there to, or I don't think there's a team that really needs to make too much of a permanent move. And so a theme of my picks for today will probably be in the frugal category, loan moves, short-term loans, and I think this might be beneficial for both player and club, and that's of course Arsenal, and I'm targeting their striker position. A player that we talked about, he's played previously in the Premier League, made a big money move to Saudi Arabia. Again, one of the themes of my picks is Saudi Arabia. Uh, uh, uh. So, without any further ado, of course, my pick is Alexander Mitrovic to join Arsenal on a short-term loan. There is, I believe, a little bit of a break in the Saudi Pro League this year so far. He's had 17 goals and 17 appearances in the Saudi Pro League for his club Al Hilal. That's Mitrovic, of course, and he's had 5 goals in 6 appearances in the AFC Champions League. So, not a poor return on goals. 29 years old, maybe could be looking to keep himself fit and continue playing through, I would say, a higher level through these couple months. And so Mitrovic, short-term loan, I think benefits both him and Arsenal, where I don't think Arsenal, I think at this point, should be breaking the bank to make a striker signing in the middle of the transfer window, sorry, in the middle of the season, rather wait until the end of the season and then see what the options are there. But not sure how you feel about that, Mac. That was my striker option for Arsenal.
I feel like that's a very low risk play. The only question I would have is more the wage side to see how affordable he is, because he's probably getting a hefty wage bill playing in the Saudi league. I would assume that's just, again, why else would you go? So it would be interesting to see if there's a percentage that Arsenal have to pay, would it be covered, etc. As well as he would be going from playing from a London club to a London rival, so that may be a little bit of a tough transition. But I think it's not a horrible idea. As if nothing else comes in, there's not a better fruitful option. At least we know that there is a proven pedigree, and he does have qualities. And again, better option than it gets you. So like, there is no loss there. There's hell of no loss there.
Of course, of course. Okay, then if that's the case, Gio, I believe it should be you next. Let's hear from you, your second pick.
Okay, now why don't we just keep on this Arsenal train? Another striker that we can look to. Um, Probably less likely, just because I think the situation is tough. Maybe they don't see him as a long term, solution per se, or maybe he doesn't really want to go on loan there. But again, somebody who can come and compete for a title, that's a pretty fun time. But I think they'll look in the Premier League again, maybe for a loan, maybe for a buy. I doubt it's a buy, probably a loan. They're gonna go out and sign a striker, and that striker is played for a former London rival, a Mr. Dominic Solanke. I think he can really, really just go out there and
Hmm.
play the game that he's always been. He's been playing great for Bournemouth. I think obviously I think his talents are being wasted there as of right now. So he has the size for aerial threats. We've seen him play with his feet. We've seen him score with his feet. He's I think he's just ready to be not necessarily a starter per se, but he's going to be that. He can be that impact guy. He can be your starter if Gab Jesus is going through a dry spell, and he can be your bench guy who comes on and makes a difference, like Trassard typically does as well. Having that backup, having that depth would be would go a long way for Arsenal trying to make this push for the title.
Hmm. I I see where you're coming from, and I that kind of came across my head as well. Maybe a future signing for Arsenal. It's just I don't know if Arsenal at this point would want to gamble on spending a lot of money on a player and then building them up in the middle of the season. I think rather waiting a little bit until the end of the season. That was my only gripe there.
No,
Matt?
I agree. I agree. It's just tough for them in terms of the situation.
Yeah,
Do you want to buy? Do you want to loan? Are they willing
yeah.
to let him go on a loan when they're doing quite well in terms of staying up in the Prem? It's tough.
Yeah, again, same thing as the Mitrovic, but I think this would be less likely because of that fact. Because I think it would have to be a buy, and I think Arsenal necessarily long term don't need like a stopgap. They're not looking for a backup striker. They would need a starting player. They would need a player in their starting 11 that is going to be a consistent threat. I don't think Solanke's that guy, so having that money out to be able to spend to him probably not. But similar to for a loan, the idea conceptually makes sense, and he's a very different player than Gabriel Jesus, so he brings a different dynamic, not dissimilar to the idea of like Havertz coming in and playing in the center mid, where he offers a different dynamic than was offered previously. But I think the cost benefit ratio doesn't make sense as much there. I think it makes more sense, even though it's a little bit riskier. I feel like they should put their kind of go have an all-in move ready to go for that position, because that is the biggest hole on their pitch, in my opinion. By far.
But
I don't think there's a question, really.
yeah, no, but big shout out to Solanke, of course.
Yeah.
Gio, you and I have been shutting him out all season, and hope he continues that type of form. But Mac, I think it's next. You next? Oh no, that's me next, I believe.
Yes.
My next transfer. Now, keeping in mind with loan moves, Saudi Arabia, player that's been on the headlines, trying to make a move back to the Premier League. Jordan Henderson. He should make a move back to the Premier League, and to no other club than Chelsea Football Club.
Oh, come on. Oh, it's a madness.
Hear me out.
It's a madness. Okay, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
like it. I like it. I like it.
Recording.
I like it.
They are recording. Chelsea lost yesterday against Middlesbrough in the first semifinal game of the EFL Cup. A lot of stick been out there for Enzo and Caicedo. Gallagher potentially on his way out. Pure profit for Chelsea. They need a stopgap. What other way to fix that than to sign a short-term loan for a player that already wants to come back to the Premier League? What's one of the other concerns that Chelsea have had? There are a lot of young players. Other than Thiago Silva, they have no real leadership. Jordan Henderson has a lot of proven leadership in the Premier League. Lastly, I'm sure Todd Bowley can negotiate some sort of deal. Hey, we take Jordan Henderson for now, and then in the summer we send you 3 of our players for a cut price, considering their previous dealings with, of course, Mendy, Conte, and the sort. But lastly, Chelsea are in shambles. Poch will have an excuse. Who do I have to play midfield? Jordan Henderson, and you think I'm going to come up in the Premier League with this type of team? It's a win-win-win for everyone, I think. So it might be a little bit of a troll pick, but hey, it could work out. Yeah, that's exactly what I'll go for. I guess, Mac, let's hear your last pick.
Okay, so I'm going to go for a 2-for-1 special here. I'm not going to necessarily go for a 1-to-1 transfer. And I did talk about this player to start off, and he's more like the part B, I would say, is that, as we know, I've mentioned Calvin Phillips going to Tottenham, but I'm going to twist that around a little bit and do a little bit of adjustment, because I think that helps Tottenham, of course, but how does this help City improve? And I targeted someone different for Manchester City so they can improve and kind of go to that next level, as well as have that backup player that they need in the defensive midfield position. And I went, again, I think in likelihood of happen from the ones that I'll talk about today, this is the most unlikely one to happen, but I think it's one of the most fun ones. So if you go Calvin Phillips to Aston Villa for him, plus cash for Douglas Luiz as a Rodri replacement, because he seems much more comfortable, and since Unai Emery's coming over and taking charge of Aston Villa, Douglas Luiz is very comfortable in possession. You feel like I could think he could slot into that Rodri spot a lot more comfortably than any Man City player that they currently have. And as we've seen thus far this year, whenever they've missed Rodri, the team drops off drastically. So there's not necessarily a starting 11 fix that you need, but I think there's a rotational fix that you can use. And a player like Douglas Luiz, I feel like you can play him alongside Rodri. I feel like you can play him individually instead of Rodri if he's out. As well as this means you no longer have to see Kovacic play, who I think has been a complete flop at Man City thus far. So again, the likelihood of that happening, not real in all likelihood. But I think Man City, if you ask me kind of what's the area of the pitch they need to focus on, it's really if one of their stars are hurt, which they do, and right now their biggest drop down from, I guess, their best player to their next best player has been like I said, the Rodri to Callum Phillips. Fix that. Douglas Luiz, Callum Phillips gets to be able to play every game under Unai Emery. And Unai Emery's kind of done a great job of building up players' values that didn't do so well over the course of the last couple of years. So I think that could be a good fit there as well. So yeah, that's my second, again, the most far off transfer, but I think could work well and benefit both teams.
And honestly, I gotta congratulate you there. You took a stab at what City need, and I think you hit it on the nose right there. A backup center midfield that could play up to the standard that City need, and so yeah, I of course don't see it happening. Very unlikely, but it's a great shout because I don't really see anyone else fitting that position. What do you think, Gio?
Hey, if it works, it would be genius for both sides. Obviously, would City kind of rock the boat right now, as well as they're doing? Obviously, a little tough for them, but Villa as well as they're doing. I don't think they would want to rock the boat. They're flying high right now. They're on cloud nine. So, giving up a player that has done this much for them at this time doesn't seem to make sense. But in terms of making a profit, I think it's absolutely there. But I think if they hold strong, they can make exponentially more this summer for Mr. Luis.
Ooh, fantastic, fantastic. Okay, guys. Well, those were our first two picks. We're gonna have two more picks for you each. So stay with us after this break. Welcome back to Hustle Footy, guys. We are gonna continue our fantasy transfer podcast. And the next pick is actually mine. I'm gonna go with another Saudi Arabia loan move, and this time it's gonna be for Manchester United. One of the targets that Man U let slip through their fingers in the last couple seasons. Midfield reinforcements, I think, are still needed at Manchester United with Scott McTominay and Ericsson still logging heavy minutes for that club. So I'm going to go with Ruben Neves, the 26-year-old Portuguese midfielder who was supposed to make that move a number of years ago. Eventually didn't, but, short-term loan until could, provide some extra coverage in that position. Gio, you mentioned it. Amrabat away for the AFCON as well. So why not Ruben Neves for a short-term deal until Ten Hag or the club decide what the next move is at the end of the season? I think it benefits everyone at this point, and it's not a bad gamble considering, of course, again, they were in for him and multiple times now. So yeah, Gio, I'm not sure how you feel about that, but yeah, Ruben Neves, would you take that right now?
I would love Ruben Neves. I think they should have put in more effort to try to get him in the first place instead of a Mr. Casemiro. Just would have been smarter long term, smarter short term. No transitional period. Just makes sense. Played in the Prem, has played well in the Prem. That's why he's been so coveted. But sometimes money talks, and I don't know if you can pay the wages that he's obviously making there. But from what we're hearing, people aren't loving life in Saudi Arabia for many reasons. A lot of them being cultural. But hey, if Man U can snag a player like Ruben Neves, that would help greatly. And I think him being in the midfield with Bruno would be, an easy pairing. They're just speaking Brazilian, Portuguese, whatever. It's gonna be a great time. Great time. So yeah, no, I love that shout. Been a fan. Been wanting that to happen for quite some time now. So I'm on board.
Fantastic, fantastic. Mac, I think then it's over to you. Which is your third pick for us?
I'm going to give you a. I'm going to go simple here, and I'll finish off with a little spicy pick. Simple one, I think, should very much definitely happen over the course of this window. Seems like there's already reports that he might be exiting his club. Is Conor Gallagher? Conor Gallagher, and I think the fit for him is Newcastle. The reason why he should fit in Newcastle, of course, is the replacement for Sandro Tonali. I think I brought this up on the podcast a couple of times. He's been roughly estimated to be worth around 40 million euros. That's definitely feasible for a Newcastle team, as well as even when Sandro Tonali does come back. I think if you look at a structural midfield three of Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, and Gallagher, that could work. You could play Joe Linton there as well. And even though Sean Longstaff has played well and is shown to be a better quality player than I thought a lot of people would estimate, I think that Newcastle, if they're continuing to looking to progress as a club and have similar seasons to the one they did last year and to be more consistent, they need to kind of not just accept those standards, they need to seek higher. And I think a player like Gallagher, as we've shown this year, being the best player, I would argue, some may still call Palmer, but I would think Gallagher's been their most influential player. What he's done for Chelsea, if they bring him over to win there, and Chelsea need it in the books, come off of pure profit there, as we always talk about. And again, I think, again, this is a very simple, easy fit, and I would be surprised, in fact, if Gallagher doesn't move. And if he does move, I think Newcastle would be one of the two clubs I think that he could go to.
Yeah, fantastic choice there as well. Just because, well, for the number of reasons you mentioned, but if Newcastle are again involved in Europe in the next season, we've seen it. Injuries happen. Their squad was quite thin, and no offense to Lewis Manley, he's done terrifically since he's come into the team. You don't really expect a player of his age to be starting week in, week out for your club, and that's a great sort of body to have. Not just an extra body, but he fits, I think, the play style, and I think the Newcastle fans will love the way that he's very aggressive, very passionate when he's on the pitch, and of course will run for days when needed. So yeah, I think that's a good pick there as well. You're not sure if you had anything to add, or did you want to go with your third transfer?
Love it as long as Conor Gallagher can, as long as they free my boy Conor Gallagher and gives them a chance to actually play on a team, as some would say. But jumping into my third pick, this is actually a backup option for Liverpool if they don't get Joao Palhinha, another defensive midfielder. That I think, may not, hopefully is on that list of players who isn't happy in Saudi Arabia. So this is right out of Ray's books, is Marcelo Brozovic. I think he can come for a bargain. At the age of 31, well experienced, knows the pressures of playing on a big stage, playing for a big club. Obviously, he's been on Inter Milan for many, many, many years. Has been a staple in that midfield for many years. But again, money calls, money talks, and he was out of there. But based on how people are responding, it seems like they are looking for ways out. And I think if Liverpool can get him on a bargain on a loan, who's to say no that can't happen? I think he again understands his role. Also a very physical player. I think he would transition very well in the Premier League. It might not be immediate, but I think having that option of a Brozovic, of another defensive midfielder, to ease the load off, what they have right now, ease the load off the younger guys, would be massive. So a player with ample experience across the world, on the international stage, on the club stage, I think would be huge for them if they can get it at a bargain.
Hey man, Gio, my best friend. Of course, two players I value and rate very, very highly. If they could make their way to Liverpool somehow, I'm all for it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Let's toss it now. Then back to you, Mac, for your fourth transfer.
This one's a little bit different. I think this player can fit on a multitude of teams and fills the exact position that I think is a little bit needs to be looked at by a couple of our larger teams. I'm talking about Liverpool. I think he can fit on Newcastle. I think he can fit on Manchester United. I think he can fit on Chelsea. because that left fullback position, for I would argue for many of those squads, are not the greatest right now and need some adjustment. And a young player that I'm really excited about and who I really like, actually plays in La Liga, plays for a team that was formerly first for Girona, and I'm looking at Miguel Gutierrez. I think he's a quality young player. He's 22 years old. He's valued roughly around 20 million euros on transfer market. How he's played thus far this season, I think, has been exceptional. And what he does really well is that he can fill a multitude of roles, where you've seen him in different games of how he's played, where he's been kind of that traditional bombarding fullback, where he has pace, he's taking it down the wing, he's looking to cross into the box. He has the capabilities. But just like a lot of modern fullbacks have to do nowadays, he's also very comfortable inverting as needed, and he's comfortable in tight spaces and in possession. Thus far, I think that if you're looking at kind of the young left fullback positions, there hasn't been too many kind of stalwarts or standouts that you can look at. So he might be one of the few up and coming players that you can kind of attach yourself to, potentially at a lower discount, when even in all likelihood, Girona are not going to win the La Liga this year. They're probably not going to do that. Not in the cards. But I think that if you're looking maybe not even now, but maybe going to summer, this is a player that you could target where, okay, yeah, similar to kind of those Leicester runs where you've had that team do exceptionally well and then they got pillaged. This is a player that I wouldn't be surprised makes his way to a different team and kind of fills those gaps. And I can think he can fit on all of those teams. If you ask me individually which one would be my favorite, I think either, depending on how Liverpool want to be able to kind of deal with their back three. Is it going to be kind of three center backs with the Trent kind of tucking into midfield? Then that may not make as much sense. But if it's more back to the traditional, he's a great fit there. But if you would rank my next one, it would be, again, Newcastle, because Dan Burns, 31, great quality player. He's just not that guy if you want to be able to take that next step. And this is a type of player, if you're looking at Eddie Howe, kind of high pressing, high octane type of system, can slide in well and be excellent in possession. So those, again, I think he could fit in any of the teams I listed before. But if you ask me to kind of attach a name to who needs him most, it would be those two teams for me.
Ooh, very, very good shout, of course, Girona. And on a miracle run, to be honest, this season, we hope they can make it as far as possible and maybe cause an upset over there in La Liga. But great shout there. I think a lot of their players, I'm imagining they're going to be the Leicester of when they won the league. Multiple players will be leaving and some players could be making the way out. Now, I think I saw reports where that, the president of Girona wouldn't be upset if, of course, the manager, who can't remember his name right now, has been, catching people's attention. If someone made a move for him at this point, he wouldn't be upset because he said he deserves it for the job well done he's done so far. And so, yeah, could be another player that, unfortunately, if he does leave, Girona might be at a loss, but it could be a possibility for him to make it to that, I guess, next level, if we want to put it that way. But great shout there. Gio, then I'm going to toss it to you for your fourth transfer.
My fourth and final transfer. Why not take it home to Old Trafford? This one player, I think I've picked a lot of defensive midfielders this episode. But let's just keep that theme because I think he would be a great shout for a loan move. He's been linked before, but Mama Rabiot said no. So please, why don't we take a chance at Mr. Rabiot? And it's not like he's getting significant amount of minutes at Juve right now. I don't think Juve will win the title. But I think with the Euros, with everything, I think he's gonna want minutes, wants to get touches, as much as he can, really. And why not come to a struggling team where he can try to get touches, try to turn it around, maybe make an improvement, catch the eye of Mr. Didier Deschamps, and hopefully be a staple in that midfield for the Euros himself. So, or actually be a great backup option. So. My last and final pick is for Rabiot to finally go on loan to Manchester United.
What a pick. Of course, again, one of those players that has been linked with Manchester United. I think the shorter list would be who hasn't been linked with Manchester United because, of course, such a big club always in the headlines. But I think that's a decent pick as well, considering it's a need that Man U need to fill. the Euros coming up, something as well that they might look into. I'm not sure how Mac feels about this pick, but I don't mind about it.
I don't like it at all. I'll be honest with you. What's the difference between him and Sabitzer? Like, this is just Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid. Like, Manchester United should just be changed to Manchester Mummy. You know, like it's ridiculous. Like, they need to. I feel like, again, I like the concept. It's a position they desperately need to fix. I completely agree. But I think they need to be forward thinking. Are they intelligent enough to be forward thinking? Probably not. So they'll probably look at a Band-Aid again. But they need to look at long-term planning for sure. I don't know if you because they just don't have a brain power. They lack it
because Ten Hag's not going to be there. They're not going to buy players for a Ten Hag. I don't care what the rumors have been that he has a great meeting with Radcliffe or whatever the case may be. He's not going to be there.
But why can't you? So if you have a long-term plan as a club, and your manager, you're looking to bring in a manager, you should have an idea of the manager you may want. So you'll have an idea of players that may fit under that system. And if a player is not good under like just one individual manager, as we've seen through Aston Villa this past year, a whole new manager may make a change where we see a different level. So I would be looking to bring in players that are 23, 24, 22, and you can kind of grow with them and you can build around them. Like there's I kept seeing the links. I know we're going off complete tangent here. I apologize, but I think it's Javi Guerrera. I think his name is 20 years old, plays in La Liga. He's been the one linked to Manchester United. I feel like, again, I've maybe seen him play once, and I could probably not recollect it at all. But just that idea for me makes a lot more sense than something that, is just, it's for now, right? Where, like, what does Sabitzer really bring to you last year? Was there any impact that he had on the team? No. And is Rabiot going to have the same type of impact? Probably. So I'm not trying to downshout you, Gio. I think you're absolutely correct that this is a position of need. I just wish that there was more forward thinking, right? And if you don't think Ten Hag's going to be there, if they don't think Ten Hag's going to be there, what's their plan then? They should already be thinking 4 steps ahead, not just reacting to kind of the emergency today,
To that, what happens when they bring in a player? Let's bring in this young talent, great. He's going to be great. He's going to join us in January early on. He's going to join us, and we're going to work with him. And then what? He doesn't get minutes. Team continues to do poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's what? Oh, they brought in players for what? What did they bring in players for? Oh, Ten Hag comes out. I didn't even really want to sign him. It was their call. Then what?
But
then you have to then find a manager who's willing to put in the effort to work with these players. Yeah. And then it's just backwards all over again. That's why they need just bandages, albeit bandages, to get by and start fresh. Now, have they done that before? They've tried. Have they succeeded? No. But bring in players, splashing cash right now to buy players just doesn't make sense. You need loans, and you need many loans to get by and get you to a position where, say, oh, it might not be Champions League, but if it gets you into European spot, that's the attraction. That's the attraction for young players. I'm playing at this lower league that doesn't allow me to play in Europe. I need to go somewhere. Although Man U is struggling and I can make it to an Arsenal, I can make it to a Real Madrid, at least I will get touches. At least I will get minutes. But until the managerial position is clear, large money signings simply do not make sense.
I agree to disagree, but a great conversation.
Fantastic, because that's exactly what we need. Of course, different opinions, and of course, Gio, even though it's not the greatest season for Man U, we definitely need that type of honest reaction from a fan. And honestly, it's a breath of fresh air to hear it from you there. But I guess I'll end it off for us on a more positive note. A player that, Gio, you're very fond of, I'm sure. Been on the headlines recently, and again, another no transfer fee involved in this. It's potentially a short-term loan, potentially could be a short-term loan with a potential extension for that contract. Not sure you guys have seen, Paul Scholes has been on social media, I think it is, berating a player for not doing enough on the football pitch, but more so doing more in the gym, and that's of course Jesse Lingard.
Love it.
And there's a reason why, guys. He is preparing himself physically to join a very physically demanding team in the likes of Everton Football Club. Can you imagine Jesse Lingard providing some more extra depth to that front line at Everton, potentially pushing them into the top half of the league if their points deduction gets dropped, potentially making it into a European spot? Jesse Lingard makes a comeback into the Premier League, fairy tale story again, for a year that, frankly, for him, he would like to forget. So, of course, Jesse Lingard's still out in the market, and we've seen himself offer himself to a number of clubs recently. It hasn't gone the way, but he has been playing in the Premier League before, and definitely could be an option, at least for depth. I think that's a very low risk gamble that a host of Premier League clubs that are struggling down there could sign. We've seen it with, of course, Luton Town signing Andrew Townsend and Ross Barkley. So why not? Why not Everton? So not sure how you feel about that one, Gio. Of course, I know you have some fond feelings for Jesse Lingard. What are your thoughts there? Could he still cut it in the Premier League or at that top level?
Messi Lingard, yeah, I think he's undoubtedly capable to help out at Everton at least. Look, he probably won't cost them much even on loan. It's he offered himself to Barcelona. Do I think he's ready for Barcelona? No, 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 no. You think far too highly of yourself. Is he even a better option than Dele Alli? Yeah, I think he's a better option than Dele Alli. I don't think you're getting much out of Dele Alli right now. But again, it's another, super low risk, loany, sign him on for the rest of the season. See if you want to extend him. Almost like a tryout. So I think realistically, you know, you don't lose if he does great. Fine, great. You succeeded. Sean Dyche is a master at this managerial business. But if he doesn't do well, hey, it was only for 6 months. That's it.
There you go. That's my reasoning. Mac, final thoughts on that transfer?
I'm biased. I don't like him. He's cooked. Like I don't. He's Ben Simmons in soccer form. Like this is what we're doing. Like just stop it. Just stop it. Just move on. You live your life on Instagram. That's cool. Do you, bruv? But no, he's cooked. I think he should be looking for. I think if he's interesting, look to play for Wrexham. Then you get on a documentary that'll help your profile, make you a little bit more famous, something like that. Because he's not a real football player right now, in my opinion. He's cooked.
You know what? That's a great shout. Wrexham, sign him up. Well, and give us, of course, Jesse Lingard a cut of that fee if that does come through. But guys, thank you for joining us. This concludes our podcast for today. If you guys like what you heard, please like and subscribe to us on our social medias. That's at @house_of_footy. If you have any comments, suggestions, or general banter, get in touch with us via email, houseoffooty@hotmail.com. The next time you hear from us will be Tuesday when we review this weekend's Premier League games. But until then, see you next time, Mac.
Peace out.
See you, Gio.
Take care, guys.
See you guys soon.